There's a moment almost every dog owner has experienced, but few dare to say out loud. Your dog suddenly barks at someone who looks completely normal. Not drunk, not aggressive, not threatening in any obvious way. And there you are, feeling a bit awkward, a bit embarrassed, asking yourself, what's wrong with my dog? But what if I told you that your dog's reaction is very likely not random at all, and that it's actually doing exactly what it has evolved to do for tens of thousands of years? Evaluate humans. I've lived with dogs long enough to understand one very practical truth. Dogs don't think in words, but they remember through experience. They don't need you to explain who is good or bad. They watch how a person treats you, how that person stands, breathes, looks, and all the tiny signals you don't even realize you're giving off. In multiple scientific experiments, dogs refused to accept food from people who behaved poorly toward their owners, even though the dogs themselves were never harmed. That says something powerful. Dogs don't just live for themselves, they live through relationships. In everyday life, you see this more clearly than you might expect. Some people walk into your home and haven't done anything yet, but your dog is already standing in front of you, ears up, body tense. Not because the dog is aggressive, but because your body changed first. Your breathing, your sweat, your stress hormones. None of that escapes a dog's nose. You can smile politely, but your body doesn't know how to lie. And dogs never miss biological signals. Dogs also remember for a very long time. Not faces the way humans do, but scents tied to emotions. Someone who scared, deceived, or unsettled your dog even once will have that scent stored away. I've heard countless owners say, my dog hates that person for no reason. It's not without reason. It's just that you don't remember the moment anymore, but your dog does. There's another truth longtime dog owners quietly agree on but rarely say out loud. Dogs dislike people who say one thing and do another. A smiling mouth with a tense body. A soft voice with sharp eyes. To humans, that's social politeness. To dogs, it's a contradiction. And contradiction always signals danger. That's why dogs bark. Not to embarrass you, but to create distance and safety. Even on walks, why is your dog calm around one dog but reactive toward another? It's not about hating a breed. It's about body language. A stiff tail, a frozen stare, stress scent coming from the other dog. Dogs read these things far faster than we ever could. What I want you to take away from this video is not, dogs are always right. Dogs can have faulty memories, old fears, and exaggerated defensive responses. But what matters more is this. Dogs never react without a reason. Every bark, every step back, every time they position themselves in front of you, there is biology behind it. If you've ever hesitated between trusting your own judgment or your dog's reaction, pause for a second. Not to panic, just to observe. Because sometimes dogs don't see the future, but they sense danger long before you do. Have you ever had a moment when your dog reacted to someone and made you rethink that person? Leave a comment. Those stories are often more valuable than theory. If you're raising a Shih Tzu, a very familiar thought may have just crossed your mind. But Shih Tzus are small, gentle, affectionate. How could they possibly have those advanced abilities like working dogs? I understand that thought. I've heard it from countless Shih Tzu owners over the years. And because of it, we tend to underestimate Shih Tzus the most, even though they are one of the most emotionally sensitive breeds there is. From a scientific perspective, Shih Tzus were not bred to hunt or guard. They were bred to live alongside humans, to observe humans, and to respond to humans. This leads to a truth many people overlook. Shih Tzus are exceptionally good at reading their owner's mental state. They don't react explosively like larger breeds, but their responses are subtle. Hiding in a corner, unusual silence, refusing to approach a specific person. That's not stubbornness, and it's not timidity. It's a social self-protection mechanism. In everyday life, you'll notice that Shih Tzus tend to stay closer to their owners than many other breeds. Science refers to this as hyper-attunement, a constant adjustment to the emotional signals of the bonded human. When you're stressed, your heart rate rises, the scent of cortisol in your sweat changes, and Shih Tzus detect that almost immediately. They don't understand what's happening, but their bodies do. The environment no longer feels as safe as usual, and when a specific person repeatedly appears alongside that state, the Shih Tzu remembers. The key point is this. A Shih Tzu doesn't need that person to do anything bad to them. It's enough that the person makes you uncomfortable, anxious, or guarded. Because to a Shih Tzu, your safety is their safety. This is why many Shih Tzu owners say, he doesn't bark, but he keeps staring at that person. Or, she clearly avoids this one person. These are controlled responses, not panic reactions. Behavioral research shows that breeds with strong attachment tendencies tend to remember people through associated emotions, not just visual appearance. In other words, Shih Tzus don't remember a person's face. They remember the feeling that person brought into the room, and that feeling can be stored for a very long time. You may have forgotten it, but your Shih Tzu hasn't. That's why one of the most common mistakes Shih Tzu owners make is forcing friendliness, forcing them to be held, forcing them to approach, forcing them to greet politely. From a biological standpoint, this is the fastest way to strip a Shih Tzu of its sense of safety. When a dog is forced to engage with a source of stress without an escape, its nervous system learns, I'm not allowed to protect myself. The consequences often appear later, but they're unmistakable. Anxiety, fearfulness, or sudden intense reactions. Living with a Shih Tzu long-term teaches a very real lesson. Never dismiss the small reactions. A step backward, a head turn, averted eye contact. That's a dog's language, and Shih Tzus speak that language very softly. If you ignore it, you'll think, they're fine. But their body doesn't agree. I'm not saying your Shih Tzu is always right, but I am certain of one thing. Their reactions are never irrational. And when you learn to listen to those subtle signals, your relationship with your dog changes completely, less tension, fewer misunderstandings, and greater safety for both of you. If you're raising a Shih Tzu and have ever had a moment where their reaction made you rethink someone, share your story in the comments. There are things only people who live with Shih Tzus truly understand. Before this video ends, I want you to hold on to one very small but very real thing, not as a warning and not as a reason to distrust everyone around you. Just as a different way of seeing a relationship you may be living with every day but have never paused to name. Shih Tzus don't judge people. They don't know who is good or bad by social standards. What they sense is simply this. When I'm near this person, does my body feel safe or not? And that feeling is recorded very deeply, for a very long time, with remarkable honesty. Living with a Shih Tzu, at some point you realize this is not just about care or training. It's about listening. Listening to small reactions, the slight turn of the head, the quiet avoidance, the unusual silence, not to indulge a dog's fear, but to understand why its body is responding that way. When you understand that, you push less, blame less, and stop hurting a very sensitive nervous system living beside you. A Shih Tzu doesn't need you to be perfect. They don't need you to always be right. What they need is for you not to ignore the signals they're trying to send. Because sometimes, what protects you first in an unsafe situation isn't logic, but a small body standing close at your feet. If this video made you look again at the familiar reactions of your Shih Tzu, stay with the channel. This is a place for people who truly live with dogs, share life with them every day, and want to understand them through science, experience, and respect.